Okay, let's do a quick mic check. All right, I think that's all right. Hey everyone, how's it going? Cameras will be up in just a minute. Mm, All right, okay, I'm trying to eat a cookie. Let's see if you hear the chomping. All right, I'm trying to get this in place. I should have done this prior to the start of the stream, but I just did not have the time for it today. I've been making uh frames for my paintings like crazy. I have to make a ton of them. So that's all I've been working on right now. All right, and if you're wondering why do you need so many frames, I am going to have a bunch of my paintings at a local cafe hanging for like I think it's like a 2 months or something. So that's why. All right, and now I just have one last thing to do. Um, I know, riveting content, not even being on camera, but you know, until I can make a animated character to what's it called? Fit in my stead. Honestly, making a Wiggler character wouldn't be that hard. It's a character that just kind of bounces back and forth from like, a couple poses. A true VTuber model, that's a little more involved. Although I started looking into it, I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm wrong, but pretty sure I could rig a VTuber model pretty well. All right. Hey everyone. And one last thing. Let me check real quick. My cat's crying for attention. Come on, little girl. Okay, don't come on. Silly cat. Mhm. Where was I? All right. So there's a few spots here that are slightly out of place, but it's not too bad. It's a little frustrating because really this painting, like as much as much as I enjoy painting and want it to be a nice painting, the goal of this painting was to get a particular effect, and that only happens at the very, very end. So leading up to that, it's just like I'm just waiting to get to that point kind of thing, because that's the thing I'm really trying to achieve. And we'll see how that goes. Hey, first time chatter, koi pond. Is it koi pine? Koi pine. I'm bad with names. But thank you. I appreciate that. Koi says I was scrolling through the browse section and saw these paintings. They look insanely beautiful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, this painting I started last stream and I'm going to be working on it today. Um, a small 9 by 12, uh, you know, painting. Uh, this is kind of an experiment painting. The the whole painting up until the end is normal, but then at the very end, I'm going to try and do a little uh, touch of something different that I haven't done before. So we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed I can even get to that point today. But yeah, how are you doing today? Are you an artist or just a fan of art? Both are fine. Just tend to get a lot of artists in here. Um, but yeah, um, you know, pretty much dedicated to oil painting in this. My stream is dedicated to oil painting, but I have a lot of experience in, I'll say, like art in general. And, I've worked digitally for years. I've worked in as a storyboard artist in TV animation. So, experience with a lot of different types of art. I used to be in indie comics as well. So a lot of different things. Hey Des, good to see you. How are you doing today? Yeah, and I was oh my God, I'm so hot and sweaty from working in the garage today. Pine says, I'm doing good. How are you? I enjoy making digital art sometimes, but I definitely wouldn't call myself an artist. Haha. Yeah, I mean, there's something, you know. The thing about being an artist, it's such a funny thing, right? Because it's like, the it kind of depends on who you ask, right? Like, are you an artist, when you're making money from it? Are you an artist when you're just doing it for the fun of it? Like, what defines it, how do you make how do you define it as, like, when you are or aren't an artist, you know? I mean, I think if you regularly make art, you can consider yourself an artist regardless of if you're working or not. It says I was working on 3 different projects tonight. I'm mocking stuff up digitally. First time in ages that I actually worked on something instead of brooding about it. That's great. Yeah, I was, in my garage making, frames for my painting. I need to have, like, 16 no, sorry, 18 frames minimum, for tomorrow. So, it's been a lot. I'm gonna be hanging, like, 18 at least 18 paintings at a, cafe, local cafe here. So, that's why. Yeah, 18 frames. Yeah, it's a lot. And at the end, I actually ran out of wood, um, but luckily I had some scrap plywood that was, like, that's the right thickness, but it was an awkward shape, so but I could still cut it down for the backs, you know? I can't use the plywood for the outside, but for the backs, yeah. Uh, Koi Pine says, I haven't gotten the time to do a lot right now since I do have exams, but once they are over, I hope I can get some more practice in and maybe get as good as you someday. Gosh, good luck with all those frames. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's just stacks of wood right now. Um, the the issue with all those frames is that, like, you have to glue them up and that takes time to set, and I only have so many, clamps and stuff like that. So and then, I can't run the power tools late at night, so I was rushing to, like, get all the cutting in, so then, tonight I'll be trying to, like, glue up everything, and then tomorrow, I guess, I'll be fitting all the, like, hanging bits to it and stuff. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But Korpan, I totally understand. Sometimes you just don't have the time for it. I don't always have the time I'd like for it as well, you know? Um, so I totally understand how you feel about that. Um, Hopefully you find the time, you know? I know personally, um, I go a little crazy, when I don't, uh, when I don't get to draw or paint at all. Like after a while, I feel like I'm losing my mind after a while. I was about to start and then I realized, oh, hey, what the heck now? Why is that still wet? Is that the only part that's wet? Okay, it was. Literally I touched the only piece of the painting that was still wet because it was just a little bit thicker. Okay. I have to oil out first. That was funny. All right. There's another piece that might be a teensy bit wet, but eh, you know me. If I make a mess of it, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I have to, in case you're wondering, I can't see always when I'm oiling out what part I'm oiling out um because I can't see the reflection properly. So if I squat down, I can see it better. Ah, see, there is another part that was still wet. Aha. All right. But Josh, yeah, or not Josh, Koi Pine. Um, Good luck with your studies, and it's always good way to de-stress. Do a little sketching here and there or something like that. I find the reason I say that too is because if you like to make art, some people can kind of build it up to be this big thing, and then when they want to go back to it, it's like, oh well, I haven't done it in forever, and I haven't this, and and I don't really have the 10 hours I want to get back to it, so I'm not even going to bother. You know what I mean? But if you don't kind of let it go entirely, makes it easier to kind of get back into it. Yeah. All right. Uh, it's, I'm going to start off by just kind of fixing up some of the areas that are out of place. My edges where I messed up a little bit here and there. And then I'll go into like putting the finish on it and putting in all the details and stuff. At least that's the plan. And then at the very end, the interference paints are going to come out if I can get to it. At least that's the plan. You know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Oh, okay. Alrighty. Koi Pine, by the way, you are welcome to join the Discord and share your art there if that's something you're into. You're welcome to do that. And then the other thing I was gonna say is, I was gonna ask, what type of stuff do you like to draw? And and then also Des, how was working digitally again? I know it's been a while since you did digital. I know you're just doing a mock-up, not a full painting, but I'm just curious. I might. We'll see. I might. If I was more technically inclined, I would. Well, okay. Let me rephrase that. I'm kind of technically inclined, but if I thought about it previously, I might have set it up so I can take my phone with me to the garage and do some of the glue ups while while I'm streaming. But I do not have it set up for that, unfortunately. That says it was okay. I'm not at my usual PC. I've got some back problems and I can't sit in my chair. So I'm in a recliner in the living room and it's horrible for drawing. Oh, fair. Yeah, my back is not happy with me today from all the standing and working on the I've been working on the frames all day today and I did worked on them last night. Been working on them all week, but I've been working on them a lot today and my back is complaining right now. We'll see. Should try and use my stool is what I should do. I do have a stool I can sit on. Oof. Uh, but the problem is I tend to slide off of it. Boypon says when I do draw, I usually do just for fun, drawing my own characters. But every July there's an online trading competition called Art Fight where you attack other artists uh with art of their characters. I've been competing every year since COVID, I'm pretty sure. Nice, that's cool. That sounds like fun. I heard something about it, but I didn't know. I've heard I've heard the name, but I've never like heard what it is. You know what I mean? How do you attack them with like you do fan art of their characters? Is that what it is? Okay, I might have to change shorts because I'm literally holding myself from falling off of my chair. All right, 1 second. This chair is the type of thing where you like lean on it. You don't really like sit on it. You lean against it, and um, I'm wearing those like what are they called? They're like Um, well, there's a name for it. This type of shorts that you like, uh, for exercise, like basketball shorts, like that type of thing. And so they're they're that like nylon, or I don't know what they are. I have no idea what material they're actually, but they're slippery, and I literally can't sit on my chair because I slide out of it. Cat, you are so pathetic. No, oh God, stupid dog. Oh, animals. Copoin says it's pretty popular, but it's genuinely really fun. You can either do digital, traditional, or even 3D pieces of art, submit them to the website, and depending on how much effort and detail the pieces, uh, calculates how many points your team gets. There have been people I've known before that painted on canvases of other characters, got in contact with the artist to ship the piece to them. That's cool. It sounds cool. I don't know about how the point system works. Because of, but that might be my own biases. So it, I'm sure it's fine. I have a tendency of being, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I can be a little bit contrarian sometimes. But no, otherwise it sounds really cool. Sounds like fun. I have to keep it in mind. And nobody really cares about the point system. Everyone just enjoys giving art and getting art. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. That sounds like fun. I do like the different, there's different art collabs I've seen people do that I've enjoyed, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be fun. And I've done some what's it called? Uh, painting swaps before with people. Oh, yeah, that says we enjoy watching the British show, A Portrait Artist of the Year and Landscape Artist of the Year. And sometimes we do our own little 4-hour challenge. You are welcome to join us. Absolutely, you are welcome to join us. And yeah, it's been a while, but now that things have stabilized a little bit in my life, a little more, I can actually plan another one. Um, when we do it, I play both artist and host. So, I have to have the time for it and have to plan it. And really, I really like it when there's a lot of people to participate because it makes it more fun, you know. So, so yeah. we'll see. I'll definitely have to do it at least once, if not more, this year. And the way we do it is just like if you want to participate, I prepare the materials for everybody because we do it from we pick from one of the episodes, and I share screenshots in my Discord, and then we just pretend like we're on the TV show kind of, and then people share, what they share what they've done throughout the process in the Discord. So very casual, no prizes or anything crazy like that. Like, no, oh, this person's the winner. But it's fun. And then at the end, after everyone does their thing, I started compiling them into a slideshow and sharing it on online. Oh, you haven't seen the show? It's a fun show. I mean, it's you know pretty dry, but I think it's a fun show. Uh, you know, it's an art competition, but yeah, I like it. Although I don't always agree with the judges' decisions, of course. I mean, there's never, I don't think there's ever a competition show where, you always agree with the judges. But other than that, it's a pretty good show. Oh yeah, they're on season 12, I think, or something like that. So there's a lot to catch up on. But like, it's it really is something that you can, I like I put it on and I won't claim to be watching 100% the entire time, but um, I don't feel like it requires that. You definitely get to like pause for moments to get a good look at the art. What I get for not cleaning my brush properly. Yep, that's my fault. That says, yeah, it gives you a lot of exposure to a lot of different styles, which is good. True. Yeah. This says they've never had a digital artist on there though. Interesting. I'm not sure if you can do digital art in the show, honestly, because of what the goal is for the final piece. I don't know, like I don't know if that would be something that you can do, because the idea is that the final piece gets, put into it. Usually it's a museum or something, or a um I mean, I guess technically, yeah, a museum, right? So I don't know. That says they don't even like it if people work off of a photo. They used to. Now they've given up on that. They used to, but if you if you if you take a there was one guy, I don't know if you remember this guy. Um, he took photos and printed the photo out and then cut it to make a stencil, and then used paint over the stencil, and then did a few layers like that. They love that guy. He was in. It was in. That was in the. What's it called? Landscape one. But yeah, they love that guy. And if you trace a photo and cut into it somehow and make it into a lino cut, they love lino cuts. They freaking love lino cuts. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you know, I don't know. I feel like any kind of printing or lino cut stuff they love. So I'm like, if I could apply, which I obviously I can't, but if I could, I'm like, I think I would try to take my style and just like figure out a way to like start it or finish it with like some kind of print element, you know. Like there was that one girl who did paintings on aluminium, which first of all they like lost their mind over, which is like, yeah, as if she's the first person to do that. Um that happens a lot, honestly. They lose their mind over someone and it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, they're not the first person to do this. Hey, Cookie Monsters, welcome. How you doing? And but to be fair, I really liked that artist. I thought she did great paintings. I just, you know, I didn't think that the shtick was that important to it. Is that your own cat you're painting? No, it's not my own cat this time. I found a photo online that I'm using for reference because I wanted um, a particular setup. So I searched online to find a reference that had the lighting that I wanted, or the type of lighting that I wanted. Um, because I'm going to try something a little different with this painting. It looks great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Copine says, I don't know about you guys, but it's 1 a.m. For me right now in Ireland, so I'm going to get ready for bed. I really hope I get to see your streams more often. Good night, everyone. Good night, Copine. Thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. At the moment, I'm only streaming on Saturdays, but I will hopefully start streaming more. And I'm in Austin, Texas. Give you a time zone idea. Um, but yeah, and like I said, you're welcome to join the Discord if you'd like. I talk about things there and announce, stuff there. But yeah, have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Cookie Monster. Yeah, so the idea was I really wanted a very strong light and shadow pattern for this piece because I'm going to be experimenting with some interference paint, and I have a particular idea in mind. So I need I need the particular like pattern. Cookie Monster says 2 a.m. here in the Netherlands. You're still working on your art at this time? Lol. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I'm a night owl too. My back's hurting today. I've been working. I need to get 18 frames done for tomorrow because I'm gonna be hanging paintings at a local coffee house. So I'm trying to get frames done for it. Hey, Copine. Had to find your YouTube before going. Yeah. Uh, Hopefully I'll also be putting out videos again soon. Uh, I had to take a break from it, but hopefully, I'm definitely looking to get back into making videos. So once I finish making all the frames in the world, that'll be my next thing. Cookie Monsters, how is the art going? Last we spoke, I remember took parti- you participated in a competition that you didn't win, but you still seemed like you were in a pretty good mood about it all, and it seemed like you were doing well, which is always good. But yeah. Oh, I was part of a group show. Actually, my painting's still at a local group show, and I didn't win either, but I got an honorable mention, which is nice. I need to share that online at some point. But yeah, your memory is great, Leah. LOL. My art is going very good. Working on a 19. I'm assuming if you're going to finish that with the size somehow. Uh, 180 by 180 centimeter work at the moment. That's cool. Mm, I have no idea how big that is off the top of my head. I used to know centimeters, but I don't anymore. Jeez. It's amazing how you kind of lose it after a while. That says 70 inches. Ah, yeah. Oh, that's funny. Cookie Monster got auto modded for a second. That's funny. That's pretty funny. I know. I know. So so Cookie Monster said, I have no idea how many inches it is, LOL, and that got held for approval. And Des is saying, why was that held? Um, I think I think it's implying something else and questioning the length of something else, possibly. Uh, completely unrelated in this instance, but I suspect if I'm thinking about gamers and how some people talk, you know, that's funny. That's really funny. Hold on, I'm gonna pull out my larger canvas to show you what I've been working on. Um, other than this painting, um, I have to redo the background here a little bit. I have to finish the background here, but I've been working on this painting. Basically, it's finished. I just have to the background over here. I have to work over here. I have to work on that. I was waiting for it to dry, but yeah, this is the latest painting. Not the latest painting, but one of them that I worked on. That says, "Oh, that's nice. Thank you." Yeah, it's 20 by 16, so not not quite 70 inches, but you know. I've done larger. I miss working on larger paintings. I really want to. It would be really nice to work on something very large again. Been a while. I did a what was it, 30 by 40-inch painting a couple of years ago. That was it was a lot of fun. I just don't have the time usually, but that's awesome. 70 inches. God, that's huge. Very cool. And then I'm also working on a painting that let's see, you can see up there. I'm not going to show it, but you can see that painting up there. It's the same size. Um, that painting is my annual self-portrait. I haven't finished it yet. So I am behind deadlines on that one. But that one's going to be special because, well, not, I don't know if special is the right word, but I'm doing something different in it, which is I'm going to be using gold leaf on it. So, uh, going to be a new thing as well. Oh, and to be clear, it's not gold leaf just for like no purpose. The gold leaf serves a very clear purpose in the painting. I'm not going to tell you what it is right now because I want to finish it, but yes, it's not just like I'm not just throwing things at it for just for the fun of it kind of thing. Gold leaf is very cool. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I tried some. I did some experimenting and I tried some recently. Um, camera, just to kind of try it out to see what it's like. Um, it's funny, it looks black half the time and then gold. Just depends on the angle. But yeah, very fun. And like I said, I have this concept in my head. So I think it'll work. I think it'll work and look cool. And gold leaf is such an interesting thing because unlike regular paint, which is gold leaf is very flat. Um, so whereas when with the painting, I'm trying the way I paint, at least, I'm trying to create form and everything. So you have these two kind of opposing things in a way. But yeah, all right. Oh, let's see. All right. A lot of this needs to go darker, especially up here. Hey, Quartz Creations, welcome. How you doing? And Quartz Creations says gold leaf is very Klimt. Yeah, yeah. The man of 19 kids. LMFAO. Oh, did he have 19 kids or he was one of 19? I don't know that much about him, to be honest. I know his artwork for sure. I will say this, I have thought about making a painting and just buying a gold bar, um, and putting it in the painting and selling it for the value of the gold bar. And I figure if I did that enough times, I could then claim that you know, regularly selling my paintings for this amount, whatever it is, um, as a like marketing scheme type of thing. Uh, Quartz Creation says he had 19 kids and 11 wives. Oh, damn. Never paid any child support for any of his kids, 11 mothers. That's crazy. Cookie Monster says, are you going to paint the whiskers with a fine brush? Yes. The whiskers I will paint with a fine brush. Um, most of the fur, though, I'm not going to like go in and do, you know, much with the fur. Like I'm going to try and keep it pretty chunky for the most part. If I had 11 wives, I probably would had 44 kids. Uh, I mean, I don't know about that. It's just that's a lot of wives and a lot of kids. I mean, with that many kids, I'm not surprised he didn't pay child support. He probably didn't have any money for child support. Yeah, I have a fine liner brush that I use for, you know, for painting, like, the whiskers and stuff, but, yeah, for a lot of it, I'm gonna try and keep it very chunky because the problem is if you start putting in a ton of detail, then you have to put in a ton of detail because if you put in a ton in one spot, then it looks out of place if you know, if you don't put it in everywhere. And it's not 100% accurate. You definitely have areas of focus, but conceptually, yeah. Des says my father had a lot of kids, didn't pay child support either. That's not good. Should pay child support, but you know, it is what it is. For fur texture, I do have a fan brush that I use, but you have to look into replacing that fan brush. So the fan brush that I have was gifted to me, and it's a bristle brush, a natural hair bristle brush, and I do not buy bristle brushes. Like I said, this was gifted to me at a convention. It was like a promo thing, so it wasn't like, you know, I didn't, like I just took it because it was something that was given to me at the time. And I didn't realize it was, you know, natural hairbrush or whatever. Um, so yeah, so but I do really like it, and I normally don't really like most natural hairbrushes anyways. Like regardless of anything, I generally don't like them that much unless they're very expensive and very fine bristle brushes, or like what's it called? Like very soft ones. I've never been a fan of like bristle brushes, anyways. But this one's really good for hair texture because the bristles are thicker. So you have to look into replacing it. I mean, like I said, it still works. That's not a problem. But in general, I have to look into replacing it so that I'm not reliant on that one brush. I don't like the idea of being dependent on a single brush, you know? Some of the paint dried. Let me get my larger brush because that area needs to be knocked down quite a bit. So the idea here is it is supposed to be kind of a higher contrast painting. So I do need to push some of this a lot darker. And then I might as well get my fan brush out. All my brushes, well, not all my brushes, all the brushes I use that are in use at the moment are sitting in an oil bath, because I don't wash my brushes. I just keep them wet in an oil bath. Yeah, that's the bristle brush right there. Yeah, this needs to be darker because I need more contrast here. I don't remember, isn't it Elon Musk that has like a bunch of kids? I mean, he probably pays child support because he has to, but doesn't he have a bunch of kids? Yes, he thinks he is genetically superior, so he's spreading his seed like a dandelion in the wind. Yeah, he does think very highly of himself. Here in Austin, we do have quite a bit of Teslas because, their factory is here. Um, there are some of the, I want to say the worst drivers, but the most selfish drivers. I will say that. Like they definitely think they deserve to go ahead of everyone else all the time. At least that's my interpretation of how they drive. Don Lee, dude, hey man, how you doing? Good to see you. By the way, for anyone who doesn't know Don Lee, Don Lee's a fellow streamer and a fellow artist, although he'd also stream his video games sometimes. Um, But yeah, a lot of digital work, very fun, very good stuff. Highly recommend his streams. How you doing, Donnelly? Out of ads and ready to check out some amazing cat art. Ah, thank you. Oh, my back is really not happy with me today. So, let's see. Cookie Monster says, Leah, what are your two favorite colors? Ooh. Question. Do you mean colors as in like just, like blue, red, fuchsia, whatever? Or do you mean pigments, like specific paint colors, not just like let's say, okay, I like magenta, let's say. Magenta could be PR 122. No, 112. I think it's 112. 112? Hold on. Is it 112 or is it hold on. PR 122. Or it could be PV 19. So, yes. It says he's getting technical with his colors. Yeah, I know. We were just slamming Elon Musk, right? Yeah, we were. Uh, Green Monster says, yeah, blue, red, green, purple, etc. Well, um, that's such a tough question. Two favorites. Um, I that's such it's a really tough question. I really love magenta as a color, like those types of colors. I really love that like family of colors. And that says Liab likes yellow. No, I do not like yellow. um, not a huge fan of yellow at all. I just I nerd out about the technical side of yellow because it's a problematic color, um, or pigment. Um, I've always also been just a fan of black. I love black. Um, yeah. Uh, Cookie Monster says, I need some ideas for the color of my painting. Oh, I totally would say magenta, like anything in that kind of realm. I love those colors. Conley says, pissed off backs are going around. A friend hurt her back recently walking her dog. It weighs as much as she does, but I think the dog walks her. That's funny. Yeah. No, I'm making everyone here already knows this. So I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself for the new people, but uh, I have paintings that I'm going to be putting up in a local coffee shop tomorrow, and I need to make 18 frames for the paintings. So that's what I've been doing all day. I still need, and I'm not finished. I still need to go and finish them. But I said I was going to stream, so I'm streaming. I was tempted to stream from the garage and do it and do the frames while I was streaming, but I have never streamed from my phone before, so I didn't know what it was. And then for some of it, it's power tools, and for other bits of it, I'm actually done with the power tools. Now all I need to do is all the glue ups, and that's just, like, setting it and going away for a few minutes, like 15 minutes, and then coming back and, you know, setting something else up. Anyways, I wasn't sure it would be a good stream. So, yeah. So, yeah, my back is not happy with me. Cookie Monster says, "I love red." Uh, Red's a beautiful color. I think I prefer magenta over red personally. Stanley says, "Wow, that's a lot of frames. Congrats on getting a local place to display your work." Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. And it is a lot of frames. Hopefully I got all of them right because I'm not entirely sure which paintings I'm putting up. So I did most of them 9 by 12s, and then I made one square one and a couple larger ones. So we'll see. Magenta is an extra spectacular color, a color that does not occur in the electromagnetic spectrum. That is true. Magenta is essentially red and blue with the absence of green, uh, and that it's our brain's interpretation of that. Um, so you are right. That's one of the reasons it's such a cool color. But ultraviolet does exist, and I like to think that magenta is probably as close to ultraviolet as we can get. Well, technically violet is, but you know what I mean. We can't see ultraviolet, so. Cookie Monster says, "Yeah, I agree, that's why it's a great color." Yeah. Magenta is good for sunsets. It is. I mean, I'll be honest, magenta, it just depends on the I mean, like anything, it just depends on the painting because it can be good for anything really, but you know that already. But yeah, generally speaking, you're right, it's great for sunsets. Uh, I have my technically it's not magenta, it's rose, permanent rose, but I have my permanent rose painting, and you know, I love that. I mean, I like the painting a lot, but I just love the effect that that the color gives that painting. And then I also did a painting um years ago, and it was one of my like hue paintings, and it was a like pink purple painting. It was a pink epoxy, and yeah, there's a lot of magenta in that one too. It, but it's yeah, I don't know, it's just something so like maybe it is just because it's a color in our mind, so it's extra special. I know I've talked about this before. There's um what's it called? Michael Harding makes a paint color called Opera Rose, which is um, just a ma just a magenta, um, pigment. So it's just magenta, pigment-wise, but th they added a dye to it of some kind, so it's even brighter than, like, the normal magenta, and it's such a strong color, it's such a vibrant color, but, because it because they added a dye to it to get that color, it's not light fast, so it will fade over time, just like any other, like, neon colors and stuff, and I was so pissed when I found out because I wanted to buy that color so bad, but I was looking at it and I'm like, "There's no way that this is light fast." And when I researched it a little more, I was right, and I was like, "God damn it. I wanted this to be light fast because it's such a, such a pretty color." Me too. Hi, little girl. Hi, little girl. Hi, me too. This is a rare Misu sighting. She doesn't usually come on. Aunt says, "Let me hold her." She wouldn't like that very much. She usually hisses at everyone who holds her. Way cute cat. Yeah, she's very cute, but she's a very vocal cat, and by vocal, I mean she vocalizes being angry because she's angry all the time. Not really, she just very she hisses a lot, even at things that aren't a big deal. Like, I don't she'll hiss in my face, and I don't really, um, pay much attention to it anymore, because I know she's not really gonna do anything, and it's over the most minor things sometimes. Okay, little girl. She'll also hiss while purring, so she just does it. I don't know. Okay, little girl. I don't know if you could hear her, but she was just, like, meowing out of and complaining to me, basically. Mm, shoot, my keyboard's battery is low. Let's see. Do I have a cable here for it? I have too many cables. Uh, oh well, I can live without it for now. You heard a sharply vocalized meh just as you put her down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. Like I said, she likes to complain. Um, I don't know if I read this, but Cookie Monster said, I once sold a great, colorful drawing of drawing someone, but when but when I visited about a year later, all the colors were changed. I think I already read that, but yeah, no, that's the issue with that's why I'm very, very like on top of it as far as like which colors are light fast and which aren't. Don't get me wrong, like I have I have a set of like neon colors. They're not light fast, but I know they're not light fast, so it's like when you buy it, when you make it and when you buy it, I disclose that like, hey, these are going to fade over time because neon colors fade. That's just the way it is. You can put it behind glass. You can put a UV coating over it if it's dried. But yeah, some paints are just going to fade. That's why I'm very, very particular about some of this stuff. Like I really researched. I was going to buy Indian yellow. Yellow is such a problematic pigment because so many of the so many of the pigments for yellow do fade. Um, so I was going to buy Indian yellow, but Indian yellow, um, depending on which pigment you get and which variation of that particular pigment you get, it's not light fast. So um, it can fade quite a bit, apparently, like significantly. And then I was going to buy green gold, which is a very popular color. A lot of people love that color for some reason. But once again, I looked into it, and whether or not it's light fast is not entirely clear. So I ended up buying nickel azo yellow, which is uh, PY150. Apparently, it is very light fast, and all my other yellows are light fast too. It's just yeah, it's just one of those things. You gotta like kind of be aware of it and look into it. Best to use cadmium yellow. Cadmium doesn't fade. This is true. I prefer bismuth yellow for like the bright, punchy yellow. Um, However, I wanted to try out um, nickel azo yellow, um, for you know like darker yellows, and it's a pretty good color. It comes out kind of, I want to say brown exactly, but kind of brownish, and it does go a little green and then kind of goes like yellow mustard color. It does kind of cap out. It doesn't go bright, bright yellow, so it's not good for that. But it's very good. It seems to be so far. I'm enjoying it for a lot of things, just not the bright, bright yellow. It's one of those things where it's like I wouldn't replace I wouldn't replace my bismuth yellow with it. However, bismuth yellow and for that matter, cadmium yellow are expensive. Nickel nickel azo yellow, not as expensive. So, you know, depending on what you're painting, it could be a great color to use for most of the painting. You know what I mean? Transparency also plays a big role with yellow paint. It does, and nickel yellow is transparent. Donnelly says, and they called 2026 Liad's yellow phase. No, they're not. Definitely not. However, I I have gotten into a lot of research about it for sure. That is without a doubt true. I'll be honest, yellow is probably like my least favorite. Um, yeah, I think like one of my least favorite colors, generally speaking. I mean, sometimes it it's very needed, but most of the time, I don't. Yeah, I don't really like yellow all that much. I think part of it is that like I associate like the a lot of older paintings, they have that yellow to them because for a few reasons. One is because as they age, the what's it called? The varnish oxidized and turned yellow, you know, and some of the colors oxidized and turned yellow and faded and turned like brown, and also a lot of earth tones were they didn't have access to the synthetic colors that we do, so they relied heavily on earth tones, and those tend to be like browns and yellow. So a lot of that stuff I associate with like old masters and like older paintings and stuff like that. At least in my mind. And yeah, I don't know. I definitely lean more towards like the cooler colors. Like I really like magenta, and I really like uh like the green, phthalo blue, which is a cooler blue. So yeah, the fan brush works nice. Yeah, it really does. I mean, I'm still gonna go over it with some more deliberate stuff, but it's a nice like base. I also really like, some purples and violets and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I have a tendency to lean into the cooler colors. Actually, I'm trying not to like I'm actually a little aware of that, and I try to kind of, you know, be conscious of that. And it's, it's fine to lean into that if I want, but I want I want it to be a decision, not a like, oh, I just have that tendency, so like a lot of my paintings come out that way. You know what I mean? I want there to be intentionality behind what I do for the most part, not just like, oh, I happen to do it that way. A lot of that does come in naturally in art, but I try to be aware of it too. I will say I recently got cadmium orange and I've used that for the first time recently, and I was surprised at how much I actually like it. Um, I don't think it's a necessary color by any stretch of the imagination, like 90% of the time. Like there's always that like, oh, you need to hit a, some a chroma that you can't possibly hit with it without it, but otherwise, yeah, it's definitely not a necessary color, but it's a fun color to use. I like it. I still think my CMYK palette for a like minimum kind of palette that has, you know, the widest range. I still think it's that one so far. I haven't found anything better. However, I can see myself using another palette as a like I don't want to say my main palette, but more as a like, oh, I'll use this most of the time for, a combination of like a convenience or you know, mostly convenience I would think, but also price maybe on some of them. Although most of my palette isn't all that pricey. It's literally just the yellow that's expensive on my palette. But I don't know. I also it's fun to play around with different palettes occasionally. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I'm really surprised how much I like the cadmium orange. Uh, I'm actually wondering if there's some weird palette that I could do with like cadmium orange and like I happen to have cobalt violet, but dioxazine purple or cobalt violet or something like that, like some weird palette there. Oh, come on. There we go. Brush with not cooperating. Have you heard of the Zorn palette? I have heard of the Zorn palette. I've used the Zorn palette once. Um, it is a very good palette. I have some issues with the modern version of it, which I can get into. Um, but it is a very good palette, basic palette for a lot of things. You know, not all, not good for everything. But yeah, it's a good palette. The one time I used it, it you know, I'd done so many like different weird color experiments and color um like what's it called, different color palettes and stuff like that, that I didn't find it very challenging. I'm not saying that in a negative. I think I don't think you're supposed to find the Zorn palette all that challenging. I think it's quite the opposite. Um, I think it's supposed to be a pretty easy palette to use, and it was. My issue with the Zorn palette is um, that we we're not using, no one's using the like traditional Zorn palette colors for good reason. Don't get me wrong, for very very good reason. However, um, because of that, you're also not getting really the like the same out of it. Like you think you are, but you're not. But otherwise, it's good. Donnelly says, really getting that glow, the bounce light, I mean. Nicely captured. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to. Cookie Monster says, I have not really used it yet. I think it's too limited, but that's also its power. So yeah, it definitely is limited, and that's definitely its power. You Here's the thing with the Zorn palette. It's not good for everything, first of all, right? Like it's just not. People think it is, but it's not. Um, some people think, oh, it's just you have to use a limited palette and that's fine. Like, yeah, that's true. I mean, if that's what you want to do, like, sure, yeah, absolutely. But realistically, it's just not good for everything. And then the other issue is that we're not using, no one, not no one, but most people, 90% of the people aren't using the traditional pigments that it was originally conceived with, right? And you might think, oh, what does that matter? You know, you're using modern equivalents. And that's true, but the modern equivalents are a little different and they behave slightly different. So the palette is a little different if you're doing it with modern colors. And that's fine. You just have to be aware of it. Like I said, if you're doing, if you pick your reference and you pick the subject matter, you know, you're careful with what you pick, yeah, it's great. And if you're wondering what the differences in the palette are, let me explain for anyone who doesn't know. So the Zorn palette is supposed to be um, white, um, yellow ochre, red, but it's supposed to be vermilion red, and um, ivory black. That's the traditional palette. Vermilion is expensive and toxic, so people don't use that. They use instead they use cadmium red, which is expensive and toxic, but not as expensive and toxic, right? Um, for white, everyone uses titanium white, not lead white, which is expensive and toxic. Um, but titanium white's much cooler than lead white. Lead white is warmer and has a bit more transparency to it, right? And then that painted. And then for um, yellow ochre, there there's a particular yellow ochre that Zorn used, which isn't as common. Um, and that one was a yellow ochre that was a little warmer, if I remember correctly, and more saturated, um, if I remember correctly from what I've read. And then ivory black is considered a cool black, and it's supposed to replace your blue. However, ivory black today is also bone black. It's made from bone char. Um, ivory black originally was made from bone char of ivory, and I suspect it was much cooler than the current ivory black. I could be wrong about that, but that was my understanding. So you have originally the so if you think about it, originally the palette was a warmer white with more transparency, a more orange red, a warmer yellow, and a cooler black. And now you have a very cold white, a desaturated yellow that's a little cooler, um, a very, very strong red, and a black that's a little that leans cool but isn't like super cold. It feels a little different. Once again, it's still a good palette. It's just good to recognize its limitations, you know. This is good information to hear. Yeah, that's at least what I know. That's what I've read. I could be wrong a little bit. What red do you normally use in your palette? Me? Um, this is the red I usually use, and it's permanent rose, which technically is a violet pigment. It's PV19, but it can go more red or more rose or more violet depending on how they prepare it. Um, but when I want like fire engine red is the way, or Corvette red or whatever, like if you want that like cherry red kind of thing, like that really, really like punchy red, um, then I go for cadmium red. That's The other option, if you don't want to use cadmiums, um, and I think it's a great option too, is pyrrole red. It's also very permanent. Um, there's a there's another red, which I can't remember off the top of my head, that a lot of people use. It's looks similar, I think, to pyrrole, but it's not as light fast, and it tends to fade. So I highly recommend against using it for that reason. Yeah, but yeah, pyrrole red or cad red. I I would say cad red, cadmium red is what's it called? Cadmium red is more opaque, um, and pyrrole red is less opaque, so it's better for mixing. Um, yeah, generally, paints that are uh, either translucent or transparent are better for mixing. Um, but the opaque paints, obviously, uh, you know, uh, they they have better coverage. Sometimes transparency is what you want, though. So it just kind of depends on what you need. Some people love playing with the transparency of paint. You get arguably, you know, what's it called? Arguably, you get more um, saturation and brightness out of you know transparent paint when you use their transparency. I'm honestly not the best at using paint's transparency though. Like I don't really glaze or do a lot of that stuff. Um, you know, I'm not going to say no transparency comes into play, but I generally don't glaze or anything like that. Sometimes, but generally not. Part of the reason I don't do a lot of that is because in order to do that, you have to be um, like you have to plan it in advance, or you have to just be like that accurate kind of thing a lot of times, and that's not how I paint. I know some people, some artists, the way that they paint, they put down color transparently, and then they just paint on top of that, and like it looks beautiful, but I yeah, I don't know how to do that because I go over what I do too much and like paint. into what I do and paint back into it over and over. So just like kind of hitting it like that and putting down the color, and then it's just exactly where it needs to be from the beginning of the painting. That's not me. Impressive. Oh, I almost forgot. Uh, 2 months says I use a lot of mixed materials, including wool. I hope it's light fast. Um, Wool, it depends on so there's actually if you look into light fast tests, they actually use wool in their light fast test, but it has to do with the dye and how they dye it or something like that. So it does fade, but that really just depends um on the dye that they use for it. You should look up the wool test for light fast stuff. That might help give you some information. I can't say I know too much about it because I haven't looked into it. You'll look it up right now, right away. Yeah. Uh, Hopefully, it's helpful information. Dad says, "I can't sit here anymore. Sorry, I'm going to go lie down, hopefully sleep. Need pain pills." Hey, Des, no worries. I hope you have a good night's sleep and you feel better. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Your painting is absolutely great. I love the colors and the brushwork. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad. Also, the light dark contrast. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was the pattern I was going for. So the plan is once I finish it in the light areas, I'm actually going to be using um oh, what's it called? Interference paint, which is a paint that it does what's it called? It does basically have glitter kind of in it. It's not actually glitter, but it does kind of give the effect of glitter, right? But it also shifts color from um, like it depending on what angle you're looking at it, it shifts color a bit. So I want to put that into the painting to um, get that kind of effect of the light. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm just going to slather it on like all the white is going to be, interference paint, and I don't think I'm going to do it that way. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more nuanced than that. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to figure out ways of using interference paint in my painting. I really like some there's a few elements to interference paint that I think is so cool. Um, so I'm trying to figure out ways that I can incorporate it. That's a great idea. Interference paint sounds awesome, and I just love glitters. Thanks. I'm glad you like the idea of it. Yeah. Interference paint, it's so interesting how it how it glitters. Like sometimes if you put it on a dark um like area, it just looks like glitter paint almost. But if you put it on light colors, it when you look at it one way, it looks kind of shimmery, like the color that you are, looking at. But then if you change the angle, it looks like the opposite color. And one of the things I like about like gold leaf and interference paint and all that, it's something that doesn't replicate very well. So it adds, something special to the original. I think I already think the originals are special anyways, but it's something that really can't be replicated well. That's just awesome. I think I will buy that interference paint too. Yeah, check it out. It's really cool stuff. It also mixes really weird. Like technically, it's a sometimes it's very subtle, sometimes it's not. If and it mixes kind of more like RGB than CMYK, kind of the way it mixes. So it's a little weird to like play with. Donley says, "Blue wool test is the light fast thing you were talking about?" Question mark. Yes, it is. I posted a link in your Discord. If so, yes, that is exactly what I was talking about. Thanks, Donley. Yeah, the blue wool test is what I was talking about. Yep. Cookie Monster says, "I love special effects and out of the box colors. I think metals, metal colors are also, and also pearl is cool. Yeah, absolutely. And also have a hammer blow paint, which is very cool, I think. A hammer blow paint? I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, I think that all those like specialty colors, they can be very cool. I'm very cautious about them because you don't want it to be cheap, you know, like cheap tricks or whatever. Like there has to be something really there for it. But I do think it's really cool, and it can really add something special. I don't know how to translate it. It's the effect of how metal looks when it's forged with a hammer. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, what is it called? Damascus metal, I think is what I think. I think that's the effect you're talking about. Damascus metal. Yeah, I think so. think that's what you're talking about, or not. Either that or you're talking about when it, like, becomes, like, rainbow colored, um, which I forget what that is called, and the metal is, like, rainbow color. I'm surprised more people don't use cats as interior lighting, to be honest. Right? everything's wet now, so when I put down paint, I have to, like, after almost every single stroke, I have to wipe off the paint that I picked up. Uh, let's see. All right. Oh, Cookie Monster says, "Okay, it's almost 4 in the morning. Here, I better hit my bed." Yeah, yeah. I think I'm I think I also need a break from streaming. My back is just like, "You've done too much," and I still need to go do, what's it called? Um, more frames. So I think I'm probably gonna end stream here. But, thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. Um, thank you very much. It was great hanging with you. I will be back next Saturday. Yeah. Cookie Monster says, "Thanks for the chat and my compliments on the painting of the cat." Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, have a good night, and yeah, I'll be back next week. Hopefully, get more done during the week or something. I don't know, but yeah. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for hanging. I appreciate it. Conley says, "Good stream, buddy. See ya." Thank you, man. Once again, check out Don Lee for also awesome streams. And have a good night, everybody. Hope the frames work well for you. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll definitely be posting about it at some point. So yeah, have a good night.